Mezco. I want tough gazookas, which hates all palookas, but ain't a knee up and square. Why, Biffs and I bops them and always out-roughs them, but none of them gets nowhere. If any...
Hey there kids, welcome back. David from Atomic Candy, and right now I am open by chance, and what I am opening up with for you here today is, I've been waiting for this one, the Mezco 1/12 Collective Popeye. Popeye the Sailor. And I've been waiting and waiting. I know a few people have gotten this already. Mine was a little late, but that's okay. I've got it now. And from what I'm hearing from Mezco collectors is that this is like the figure of the year for 2018 for Mezco, at least as far as Mezco 1/12 Collective figures are concerned, that they really think that Mezco knocked it out of the park with this one. Because there's been a few disappointments, and they have a lot of nice figures regardless, but for a figure that just really stands out, this was it. And this figure has already even been reissued. I'm going to go ahead and take the bag off here. These always come in a cellophane bag, a plastic bag, rather. This has already been reissued. Mezco put out a second edition with some slight variation. The variation being, one, that the costume is changed to the classic white. Like you see, he's wearing kind of like work blues, sailor blues there. They changed it so that he has an all-white uniform, and they changed the packaging on the second edition as well, so that it's not in a box at all, but rather in a large tin spinach can, which I think is very clever. I wish they had done this one that way. Very original on the part of Mezco. And you see that there's a plastic cover here over a cardboard one, and I'm going to slip that off. I'm going to slip them off together. And the plastic came off inside. You see there's another plastic sheet that covers the cellophane window there to keep it from getting scuffed up. And that came off already. No big deal. It's hugging the box a little bit there. There's Popeye. We're going to go ahead, of course, and we're going to open this up and review this figure. I'm really looking forward to it, actually. Been waiting a while. And as always, if you haven't seen this before, I'm going to show you how to open this box without damaging the flap. I use a knife, but you can use any flat tool or implement and just slide it into the edge. Give it a small twist. You see that? The whole thing came out. And that's a way to get these open without putting stress or pinch points in the packaging. Let's go ahead and slide those trays out. Here's the warning label that they include with all of these now, just letting you know, hey, not quite a toy, be careful. Don't smash your figure up and blame us. And this is a series of 2 trays. You can't see them very well yet, but you will here shortly. Now, the bottom tray has a posing arm, the 1/12 Collective bag, and his pea coat, because he comes with an extra coat. Let's take the top shell off of that. That came off easily enough. And there we go. And he's got a lot of accessories too. He's got his bag, can of spinach, a crushed can, 6 pipes, and they are tiny. Look how tiny those are. It's a double tray, because I would hate for those to fall out and lose one. His, oh look at that, his compass, which I guess slid out of that compartment. Periscope. 5 extra hands, 3 hats, and a spare head. And of course, there's a stand behind him. So why don't we go ahead and get him out of there and take a look at him and his accessories.
It's 1, it's 2, and 3 for me.
And here we are back with our Mezco 112 Collective Popeye out of the package. And there are a lot of pieces. Once you see it spread out here now like this, he's got a lot of pieces. And he is a very well sculpted figure, in my opinion. I think they did a really great job with Popeye here. With his overall look, he's got his traditional oversized forearms and hands. Classic sailor blue working clothes there. Popeye the Sailor, United King Features Syndicate. Originally from Thimble Theater. Thimble Theater. Done as newspaper strips. Who he was not even the star of. His first appearance was in 1929 in Thimble Theater. January 17th, 1929. And Thimble Theater, the main character was actually Olive Oyl. Olive Oyl and her boyfriend. What was his name? Harold Hamgravy. That was it. Harold Hamgravy was his name. And her brother Castor Oyl. Of course. And he was so popular in the series, he just kind of took it over. Creation of E.C. Seeger. His real name was Elzie Chrysler Seeger. So you can see why he called himself E.C. I guess it was just easier. Looking good, Popeye. Unfortunately, Seeger passed away in 1938. But it had already been taken over for theatrical shorts in 1933. So Popeye was up and running. He had really created something there. Because you know, all those cartoons you watched as a child, all those Popeye cartoons, weren't really Popeye cartoons. They were theatrical shorts that were adapted for television. I really like the look of this figure. I like the way he looks. We'll be testing his articulation here in a minute. Let's take a look at some of the accessories. Theatrical shorts ran from 1933 all the way to 1957, so there were quite a few of them. A very dirty sailor cap there. It looks used and weathered. So does the pork pie there. I used to call these pork pies. Very dirty and gritty looking. Look at that. But, I mean, it makes it look like he's been working. I like that. A nice skull cap. The skull cap's not dirty. But it looks good. I like the look of it. Some hands coming up here. A set of clutching hands for crushing spinach cans or choking the crap out of people. And there's a lot of detail. Look at the work on the back of the hands. You can see the tendons and the stretched skin and the veins. And you turn them around here and you see the fingernails. He's got dirty fingernails. Shame on you, Popeye. You need to wash your hands. And over here as well, reaching hands, a pair of them. Same quality detail in the sculpting of the hands. They did a great job. And because they're oversized, it looks like they have a large peg on the wrist. So I don't think the transition of changing the hands out is going to be too hard, but we're going to see here in a minute. Here's a pointing hand. I'm warning you, kid, I'm warning you. Pointing out his foes. 112 Collective Ziploc bag. The arm for posing. A compass, so Popeye can figure out where he is, and it actually opens and closes. It's a functional compass in that it's hinged, and there's a little anchor engraved in the top of it. That's clever. A second head, which is, there is a great deal of detail in the head. They did a great job on the sculpt. And there's not too much difference between the two heads, and I'll compare them side by side in a moment. There's very little difference between the two heads, but I'm going to show you what the difference is. Look at that chin. A collection of pipes. One of them is starting to come loose inside that packaging. He's got 6 pipes, and it looks like 3 and 3 of the same. They really don't look different. The bottom row looks, all 3 of them look the same. Top row, all 3 look the same. I guess it's in case you lose or break one, because they are very small and I imagine quite fragile. His telescope, and I said periscope earlier, it's a telescope. And there is a little bit of plastic on both ends to make it look like glass. That's clever. And it is retractable, as you see there. It does open and close. A little tight, but it does open and close. A sealed can of spinach. And a crushed can of spinach. He's got his pea coat. Which has a Velcro closure. And his bag marked Popeye, which has drawstrings, so you can tighten it up. You can put all of his accessories in here actually and seal it up for him. Now why don't we take a look at his articulation, and we'll compare his heads while we're at it. Let's get Popeye off there, and it's a tight fit on the peg on this one, but it does fit. I know there's a big issue with pegs not fitting very well, or rather feet not fitting very well on the pegs. It does go on, but it is a tight fit. Let's take a look at the heads and you'll see what I mean. It's like the exact same head. There's no variation that you can detect, at least not right away, but the variation is actually in the mouth. If you notice the loose head, you can see his teeth, and in the other head, his mouth is clamped completely tight shut. So the idea is that one of these heads, he's grimacing with his teeth, and one he is not. It's really not that much of a difference to warrant 2 heads, I don't think. But that's alright, because overall I still really like the look of this figure. Head articulation is pretty decent. He's got a lot of tilt and movement, no real restrictions, and his neck is also articulated. So he can, the neck can arch back and forth and side to side as well. Shoulders are kind of tight. They don't want to come up too easily, but they do move. There we go. Forearm only bends to one point. It is not a double jointed elbow. Hand and wrist movement is pretty good. It's a big ball joint on there. You can see that. Big ball joint on the wrist, so there's a lot of wrist movement. There's the classic tattoo on the forearm. A lot of detail on the forearm. You see the muscle definition and stretched skin and veins. You can see, oh, let's look at this. Popeye's got a 6-pack. Nice. And he does pivot at the chest. So he's got side to side motion is good. Forward and backward is really good. So he can lean forward and lean way back. Bends at the chest. There's a lot of movement there. But yeah, he's got a lot of definition under the shirt. Look at that. And I know a lot of collectors, this shirt's not designed to come off, but I know there are some collectors who have completely removed the shirt and covered their Popeye figure with tattoos. This is something that's gotten popular with a lot of Mezco collectors. I don't intend to take mine apart, but that is something that they've been doing. Splits to about there, not too much. See the buttons on his pants? You can see the reflection there. It looks like they might be stickers. I don't want to mess with those too much. Forward and backward leg motion. Legs don't go back, but they do go forward quite a bit. Seated split's not bad. Knee is double jointed. Okay. Twist at the ankle. Oh, it twists in two positions, because it twists at the top of the boot. And yes, his calves are also gigantic. You can see the muscle definition in them. Twists at the top of the boot. Minimal amount of side pivot. Minimal amount of forward and backward pivot. And of course he has the classic, Popeye looking oversized toe work shoes there. Overall, the articulation isn't bad. It isn't bad. I do like it. Look at the definition at the top of his chest there. You see his collarbone and his pectoral cleavage. I like the overall look of this. And the articulation, it could use a few more points. It would have been nice if you could get a double joint in the elbow. But overall, not bad at all. So let's get him into a pose and see how he looks.
Yeah. You think you could shoot, huh?
And we are back with our Mezco 112 Collective Popeye in the appropriate pose, kicking the crap out of the Hulk. And despite the fact that there are some minor restrictions with the articulation, he does pose really well, as you can see here. Set him on the foot peg and give the Hulk a little bit of a kick in the rear here. Changing out the hands was not a problem, just like I had suspected. Also, the pipe. I can see why they gave you 6 pipes instead of 2. It is so incredibly thin, and it fits into a tiny hole in his mouth. And I can see that very easily just kind of snapping. That pipe snapping off. And if that breaks, you're going to be crying because it's just too small to fix. So yeah, extra pipes. Be careful inserting that pipe into his mouth. He holds his accessories very well, but he does have really oversized hands. So that works out. I really like the look of this figure. I can see why so many Mezco collectors are excited about it. And I would have to say that, honestly, in my opinion, if this isn't one of the best Mezco figures that were put out in 2018, it should be. It really should. And it came out at the very end of 2018. I mean, it started releasing like the last couple of days. And I just got mine late because that kind of thing happens to me. Just knock the Hulk out of the way here so that we can get a look at him from the front. Putting the pea coat on and off works a lot better. He's not wearing the coat now, but putting the coat on and off works much better if you remove his hands. But yeah, I like the overall look of this figure. I think they really did a great job on it. And another feature here is the cap, because you see the cap has a magnet. And so you can pose it on the head in whatever position you like. And that gives you some options for posing. I think that was a very clever idea. He's got a magnet inside of his head. Two of the caps have a magnet. The traditional sailor cap also has a magnet inside so that you can alter. Let me bring him back up here so that you can get a closer look at his face. You can alter the style of how you want it presented on his head. And that was a very good idea. Oh, he just dropped his spinach can. Fell out of his hand. That was a very good idea to do that. But unfortunately, of course, the black stocking cap, the Scully, so you can even do it like that. Just cover that eye. You can't see out of it anyway. The Scully does not have a magnet, so it really just molds onto the top of his head like that. I don't suppose that one needs a magnet though, because it just looks like it should be down on his head that way. Although, because of the way it molds, you can position it forward or backward on his head like you just saw. So you can still get some positioning out of it like that if you choose to. I like that kind of cocked to the side, like he's traditionally drawn. So what do you think? What do you think of the Mezco 1/12 Collective Popeye? I do think that this is probably one of the better figures that they've done. It's definitely on my top 10 list of favorite Mezco figures. Let me know what you think of Popeye in the comments section down below. Is this a figure that you would like to have? Is this a figure that you would like to get? You know what I've noticed is Mezco does better with characters like this. Oddball stuff. You know, because most of what they do is Marvel and DC characters, and that's fine. But when they do something that's sort of off the mark, something that's not what you would expect, like this Popeye figure, they really do a bang-up job on it. Tell me your thoughts in the comment section down below. Please do give the video a thumbs up if you got something out of it. I hope you did. Share the video if you can. Subscribe if you're new. Check out some of our other videos. I've got a lot of unboxings, Mezco's 1/6 scale figures, vintage and classic action figures and other sets, weekly roundups, toy hunts, all sorts of things. So you may find something that you like. I hope that you do. Find me on Instagram, Open by Chance on Instagram. And I will see you again soon.
Oh, that must be Popeye. Come on, Olive. I'm all ready for the wedding. Popeye, is this your idea of a joke? Getting married in a barrel?
Congratulations, old pal. The best man won.